Let's say I bought an ultra expensive handbag, not this, from a prominent green edition brand, an electric car, or started a special diet. Do you already know what Veblen would say? But how would Bourdieu explain it? Again, a sociological perspective allows us to look more closely at the role of social structures and their influence on our behavior, including consumption. Pierre Bourdieu, a French sociologist, philosopher, and anthropologist, was interested in how social structures influence individual preferences and behavior, including consumption. His seminal work, Distinction, allows us to understand the consumption choices we make. Key to understanding our choices are three concepts: habitus, three kinds of capital, and field. Let's start with field. It is easy to imagine life as a game and our situation and choices as the result of such a game being played. So let's go to the football pitch. Are you there? Our game and what we do on the pitch depends very much on our role. If you are a goalkeeper, you are more in goal, and that makes you different from someone like striker, Kane. So your experiences on the pitch are completely different. What you have in common is that you play the same game. In other words, a field is a social space in which competition for position and resources takes place. Each field, for example, fashion, art, education, is like our playing field. It has its own rules and hierarchies that influence how individuals compete and what is considered prestigious or valuable. Consumption is one such way of gaining prestige or distinction in a field. Our place in our field depends on what we possess. In sport, this would be competence, luck, but also background. Fredrik Backman, in his Bourdieu trilogy, shows a wonderful mosaic of such factors in the hockey field. In other areas of life, education, for example, fashion, where we study or what we wear, can depend on, well, what? For Bourdieu, our place on the playing field of life, for instance, education, fashion, is determined by three capitals: economic capital, money and material goods; cultural capital, knowledge, skills, education; and social capital, networks and acquaintances. If you come from a wealthy family linked by a network of contacts with politicians, company directors, and everyone in your family has graduated from Harvard or its equivalent in your country, it's clear that you will occupy a similar place in terms of education. If you want to be a part of a certain group of people in this field, you will inevitably compare yourself with others. And what if you want to get ahead? Then you also have to roll up your sleeves, pull your resources, and see if they allow you to change your place in the field. That is why people go into debt to send their children to the best schools. Is it because they want to invest, economists, or according to Veblen, to demonstrate something? No, much deeper than that. Because to be included in a particular group is not just a matter of money, economic capital, nor of skills alone, cultural capital, nor of acquired connections, social capital, but of learning a taste, a flavor, characteristic of a particular group, of knowing how to navigate in the field in that role. For how do we know how to navigate our field? How do I act to be included in a particular goal? in a particular group and not in another. This is where habitus is key. Habitus is a set of enduring patterns of thinking, perceiving, acting, and judging that we acquire through our experiences in society and pass on unconsciously. It is our way of navigating the social world that we have adopted from others. Habitus thus regulates our shopping. We act depending on what we have found in our pockets and what we know about ourselves. We will then automatically skip the cheap supermarket and, relying on previously acquired unconscious patterns and preferences, end up in a shop where surprisingly we find people who are socially similar to us. This is a habitus based on previous experience and social conditioning that shapes what we consider desirable or appropriate to buy. In other words, in Bourdieu's theory, consumption is not just the purchase of goods and services to satisfy needs, as psychology would suggest, but a social process linked to our social position, habitus, and access to various forms of capital. It is a social act that reproduces or challenges existing social structures and hierarchies. Through our consumption choices, which are not necessarily conscious, we manifest our social identity, class, and taste, thus influencing social structure and relations. And this is very important for our consumption because the taste of any group is not a rigid set of rules, but an ever-changing set of habits that allows a particular group to distinguish itself from others and assert its own superiority. Perhaps this is the function of organic, insanely expensive dishes or ultra-expensive diets. Something that was previously, in its essence, on the table of the poor and the unpleasant companions in life, a diet for economic reasons, is taken over by wealthy social groups who give it an exorbitant price and thus exclude the others. Pierre Bourdieu's distinction illustrates that our purchases, driven by habitus, various forms of capital within different fields, reflect and influence our social status and societal norms. The shift in sustainable consumption from necessity to luxury not only impacts our consumption patterns, but also redefines our social identity and affects the environment.